Sunday, December 22nd, 2019 with the Scotch Whisky Advent Calendar 6th edition. What whiskey wonders are we going to find inside? Stay tuned for the Whiskey Whistle. Merry Christmas, my whiskey friends. Mark here at Whiskey Whistle on YouTube, sharing a little whiskey awesomeness from Elkhorn Resort in Manitoba, bringing you the Scotch Whisky Advent Calendar 6th edition. What are we going to find on this 22nd day of December? Let's find out. We are into the final 4 days. Ooh, yesterday was quite nice. I forgot to give the rankings yesterday, so we'll get into that today. 22nd, there you are. Get my pog. There. Got it. Keeping it. All right, let's get it out. Got it. All right, what do you see there? I see that it's Secret Spirits. And I see, I think, a 10. Let's have a look here. Oh boy, one of my favorites, Deanston. This is a Deanston single malt Scotch whiskey from the Highland region. Deanston 10-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey distilled in 2009. The cask type, first fill Oloroso. And this is the highest ABV. Is it the highest? I forget. Well, anyway, one of the highest ABVs I've ever seen for a single malt Scotch whiskey. This is 65% alcohol by volume. Cask number 900038. Hoo hoo hoo. Ha ha ha. Wow. All right, let's get that poured. And I am going to close this up. And I'm going to put my little angel share setup on top. There we go. Make sure I don't bump it. There we are. Set that there. Put Deanston here. And my glass. Isn't that beautiful? All right, so let's get that open, get it poured. Ooh. Ooh. Here we go. Little more. Good. Beautiful. On the lighter end for a Oloroso sherry, first fill Oloroso sherry. Well, let's have a look at that color then. What do you see? A nice light golden hue. Gorgeous looking. You know, maybe even 18K. So actually fairly dark gold, not quite copper, but beautiful. And I can already see some gorgeous legs starting here. So let's have a look at the legs. Now, although this is winter peg, it's going to warm up to about +2, +3 this weekend. And it's going to melt a lot of our snow. We might end up with a brown Christmas. Deanston 10-year-old. The legs. Fairly brisk, but beautiful thick legs. And they're all over, and the secondary legs are very slow. They are only about a third of the way down to the whiskey. Gorgeous. Well, I'm expecting a very rich, thick mouthfeel. One thing to note though, 65% ABV is actually One thing to note though is that 65% ABV is actually a little bit less viscous in terms of the alcohol water solution than 48. All right, so let's check the nose out together. Huge Deanston fan. I am so happy that I found the pair of the entry-level Deanstons, the Virgin Oak and the 12-year-old, while I was in Korea. And I guess I had those reviews up sometime, might have been 2016. Anyway, it has set me on a Deanston search, and it hasn't really turned up very many things since. All right, the nose. Beautiful biscuits, hobnobs, fermented grapes, like the must. Not musty, the must, the grape must. We have very, very dusty, bookshelfy notes coming through here, which is pretty amazing for a 10-year-old whiskey to have those unusual older whiskey flavors, older whiskey scents coming through. This reminds me a little bit of Korean soju, the real stuff, not the green bottled soju. Sorry, that's not real. Soju, so the slight, grainy, sweet, sour note. And the more I play with this, now I'm really getting some dried fruits coming through. Quite light though, not a heavy scent. And I think we have a lot of distillery character here in this glass. 10 years old, not quite long enough to sort of fully transform that distillery character into something that is predominantly wood originating scents and tastes. So light, these fruits though. Just a light little bit of these dried fruits. And a sweet sour scent coming through here. And I don't mean sweet and sour like sauce, but a slight sour apple pear note. All right, on to the palate. Cheers, folks. Merry Christmas to you. Tart crab apples. A little bit of sour apple. Soured. So it's starting to get a little bit of alcohol developing in that apple. A little bit of sour cherry, which is nice. On the palate, we don't have a lot of dried fruits. Rather, we have some fresh fruits, some fresh red fruits, sour ones, underripe, some tart raspberry, sour cherry. The finish, we have a little bit of a savory note coming through. What is that note there? A little bit of toasted almond, raw Brazil nut, so a little bit nutty on that finish. The more I try this, the more I'm enjoying it, and it's becoming something that I would definitely want to buy. At first I thought, it's a little on the sour side. It's a slight sour Korean soju note, which works wonderfully in soju because you want something that cleanses your palate. This actually is palate cleansing, but it starts to develop sweeter the longer you let it sort of take over your mouth. The more I come back to this, the sweeter it gets. I'm getting some dryness also. A very light hint of bitter chocolate. 85, 90% in and around there. And a slight sherbetiness on the finish. A little bit of stewed apple coming in on the palate. Well, time to add some water there. We are going to add 15 drops. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. Might have been 16. Oh well. That's about a milliliter of water that I've added. With water added, let's get into the nose. Bigger sour cherry and sour crabapple note coming through here. That biscuity note is coming in a little bit stronger now. There's some fresh grain here as well. It really smells like barley. And I think that's really awesome that we have a whiskey here that's been in a cask for 10 years, let alone distilled twice and fermented, etc., and retains this barley note. All right, on to the palate with water. Everything is ripened. Ripe raspberries. Ripe sour cherry. We still have that stewed apple note. Still very astringent, still very tart. The finish is bringing more sweetness now. A little bit more savory, umami. A slight hint of roasted red pepper. Roasted sweet bell red peppers. Let's see what happens now with about 30 drops added. 2 milliliters of distilled water added. Again, it stepped up the sweetness. Actually, I'm getting a little bit more dried fruits here now. Those light raisins. A little bit of sweet dried apricot. A dried pineapple. So the lighter fruits, but dried ones nonetheless. Altogether sweeter. This is approaching something that I think is excellent. So you need to add a little extra water than you'd think you might. Now we're shifting the balance from tart to sweet. Now this is a challenging whiskey. We still have something that's very tart, very dry, a little bit aggressive, but you tame it down with a bit of water, a bit of thyme, and you get something that is delicious, unique, unusual, the road less traveled. And that has made all the difference. We have an emerging popular brand, Deanston. 2016, it was not popular. Anyway, so now pretty much every malt head chases Deanston a little or a lot. And there's tons of Lechaig fans, Tobermory fans, of which I am one. And you give it time and you get something that is just so attractive. Now we've got a beautiful, subtle, sweet nose here. We have grain, we have fruit, we have biscuits, and I feel like biscuits are the real character of Deanston. The Deanston 12-year-old, I have this distinct memory of getting just these beautiful digestive biscuits note. Beautiful. All right, last taste. There's a slight ginger beer note coming through here now. Pretty complex. It might be one of the most complex whiskeys in this box. Well, let's get on to the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for Deanston 10-year-old, 65% ABV in a first fill Oloroso barrel. What is that going to be, folks? It's going to be 89 out of 100. You heard it, 89 out of 100 is the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for Deanston 10-year-old. Wonderful. Well, hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you leave me your notes for Deanston 10-year-old. What do you think the nose is like, the palate, the finish? How do you rank this whiskey? Please do let me know. Are you in agreement that this is a very tart, semi-sweet whiskey that actually sort of flips with enough water added? Did you try? I hope you do try that. Beautiful. Now, before we wrap things up, again, yesterday on the winter solstice, as you know, that was Saturday, the 21st. I should have done my rankings yesterday. I apologize. Let's get through them today. In 22nd place with 77 points is Watermelon Wedge from Weems Malts, which is a North British single grain Scotch whiskey. 77 points. 21st is Lord Elcho, also from Weems. And this one got 81 points. That's a blended Scotch whiskey. 20th place from Kingsbarns Distillery, owned by Weems Malts. This is their first bottling of single malt Scotch whiskey of their own, called Dream to Dram, and this got 82 points on the WhiskyWhistle whiskey scale. Tied for 18th place is Losset Archivist from the Lost Distillery Company, and Orkney 10-year-old, which we believe is Highland Park. This got 85 points. Tied for 16th was Big Pete, the standard edition, and also Tom and Towel 13, 86 points. A three-way tie for 13th. We had Linkwood 18, also from Weems Malts. This was called Gardener's Biscuit. Milton Duff 10-year-old and Lechaig 10-year-old. These got 87 points. A two-way tie For 11th place was Toeymore from the Lost Distillery Company, and also Burnside 7-year-old, which we know is Balvenie, with a teaspoon of Glenfiddich added. These got 88 points. And now, tied for 9th place, we have Scallywag from Douglas Lang, and also Secret Spirits Deanston 10-year-old. So that's a tie for 9th place. Then we have a 3-way tie for 6th place. We have Aaron 21-year-old, Kulila 7-year-old, and Ardmore 9-year-old for 90 points. Pretty shocking that we've got old 21-year-old and young 7-year-old getting the same score. Alone at 5th place, we have Macduff 14-year-old with 91 points. And a 3-way tie for 2nd place, we have Auchentoshan 17, that was day 1, Dufton 11-year-old, and Dalmore 12-year-old with 92 points. And still first place alone at 93 points is Ben Rinna's 10-year-old for me here at WhiskyWhistle. Anyway, so those are the rankings. And let me know yours. I'd love to hear from you. Leave that here on YouTube. Put it on Twitter. Throw it up on Facebook. Tell me your rankings, even if it's just the last week. Well, anyway, if you just jumped in and watched WhiskyWhistle for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to the channel right over here and hit the bell so you're notified of the future Whiskey Whistles. Ding, ding. And if you've been watching a lot of WhiskyWhistle, binging on the channel, then jump in and support the channel. Join the WhiskyWhistle crew on Patreon. Patreon.com/WhiskyWhistle. Find me there, okay? See you for December 23rd.